I heard this story, so now you have to hear it too. And yes, this is a story based on true current events, so pay attention. Balthazar EBANG Engonga is the chief of the Financial Crimes Investigative Division in Equatorial Guinea. But the irony is he was recently put under investigation for financial crimes himself. So you can imagine how shocking it was when this investigation of Mr. Balthazar took a left turn, and the investigators discovered 400 plus videos of Mr. Balthazar having relations with multiple women on his electronic devices. But these weren't just any women. No. These were the wives of some of the most powerful men in Equatorial Guinea, and even the wives of his own personal family and friends. He banged everyone, I had to use that pun, from the Attorney General's wife, to his pastor's wife, which we'll talk about why that's impressive later, to his uncle's pregnant wife. And the craziest part is when they asked these women about the circumstances under which these videos were recorded, they all pretty much said the same thing. It was consensual. In fact, these women were so fond of him, they gave him several nicknames, including the Crusher and the Sewing Machine. So this man was literally getting introduced to people's wives casually. But in the back of his mind, he was like, your wife belongs to me. And sure enough, by the end of the week, this man would have these women in his office. That's game right there. Now, we can talk about just the sheer number of women involved in this situation. That alone is very impressive. But what I am particularly impressed by is the fact that he was snatching these women from powerful men. Do you understand how difficult it is to snatch the pastor's wife? My God. Normally, usually, it is the pastor that is banging your wife. So for you to reverse the pastor, hey, God, this man has game. Oh, wait. I spoke too soon. It is the wives of several ministers. Several. That's plural. That's multiple. Not just one pastor. Several pastors. Oh, sorry. I even forgot to mention the fact that he already has many children with his wife. This is a married man with many children. Bro read the part of the Bible that says, "Go ye therefore and multiply." And he took that as his personal life mission. This man is trying to break King Solomon's record. Who are we to stop him on his holy crusade? Release this man expeditiously. He must be set free. I'm going to be explaining in excruciating detail how Equatorial Guinea was e-banging all these wives. But before I do that, there's a few things I have to explain context-wise to my non-African audience. For my Americans and Europeans out there, you need this context to really understand the genius of this man. First thing you need to understand is that as chief of the Financial Crimes Investigative Division in Equatorial Guinea, Balthazar was pretty much the second most powerful man in that country. The reason is simple. Most African countries, I really mean to say all, but I'm going to say most, but most African countries have a corruption and accountability problem. And as a result, most African countries have adopted the use of an entire government body to clamp down on this problem. Whoever is the leader or chief of the Financial Crimes Investigative Division in any of these countries pretty much has the ability and the power to investigate any politician at will. I'm talking barge into your house at 4 a.m. in the morning and seize all your property type of at will. And like I said before, all these politicians are corrupt. So these politicians live in constant fear of being investigated by one of these chiefs. On top of that, in this particular case with Equatorial Guinea, Balthazar EBANG is actually the nephew of the president of Equatorial Guinea. So as far as the power structure in Equatorial Guinea went, he had as much power as the president damn near. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, this is probably the same power he used to snatch everyone's wives. And I thought so initially, but there's one small issue with that entire line of thinking. And that is the fact that the pastor's wife was on the list of wives that he was e-banging. Let me explain. You see, the president might indeed be the most powerful person in any given African country. That is true. But do you know who holds even higher rank? The spiritual leader that is in his ear. Pay attention. Spiritual leaders, hands down, are the most powerful men in Africa. And that is especially true when it comes to women. In case you are not aware, women in developing countries are very spiritual. Now, granted, all over the world, no matter what culture or country you are from, women are very drawn to the mystical and the unknown. But in developing countries, you have to multiply that effect by 20 because women in developing countries are very serious about spiritual authority. So while positions like the president and the ministers and chief financial crimes investigative unit officers might have power over other men, spiritual leaders like pastors have power over other men and women. Due to the unique area of expertise over which they reside, spiritual leaders have a power over women like you wouldn't believe. Put yourself in these women's position. Who would they rather listen to? The man who can launch an investigation against their husband on a whim, or the man that can threaten her spot in heaven by speaking directly to Jesus Christ? And yet, Mr. Ebang looked at his pastor and said, "I'm going to take your wife." The only way Ebang was able to defeat the pastor was pure game. And if I had to guess, he was probably using a combination of aggressive direct game and word of mouth. Think about it. He had already built a reputation with these women over the years. Word spreads fast, especially when it comes to women. So at some point, it was probably just pre-selection on steroids for him. But in the beginning, he could get away with being really direct and really intent with each woman he met. Because his uncle is the president. Fuck they gonna do? And that is how Equatorial Diddy did it. Watching a couple of the videos circulating on Twitter of Balthazar banging all these men's wives, I just know these men have to be sick. Because there's two valuable lessons you learn from watching a couple of these videos. The first being that the sewing machine is actually a very fitting name. The second is that these women weren't just willing participants, they were eager. These women were bending over without being instructed to, applying and reapplying saliva whenever it was needed, even adjusting the camera. The one with his uncle's pregnant wife is eye-opening. If you are one of these men watching your wife get e-banged, you don't have a right to be angry with Mr. Ebang. And honestly, you shouldn't be angry at your wives either. While you were busy focusing on collecting bribes, your wife was busy bribing Ebang. I know it's painful to realize, but your wife wanted to get e-banged. Okay, where do we go from here? May I suggest getting a DNA test? If you legitimately find out that one of your kids that you thought was your kid actually belongs to Ebang, then now you can get angry. RIP to the lady that unalived herself after finding out that her tape with Mr. Ebang leaked.